Meet John. It's time to renew his passport. Here's what he needs to know. He can renew by mail using Form DS-82 if he is able to submit his most recent passport, it is undamaged, it was issued when he was 16 or older, and was issued within the last 15 years. His most recent passport is in his current name. If it wasn't, he would need to submit proof of a legal name change, such as an original or certified copy of a marriage certificate, divorce decree, or court order. If John didn't meet these requirements, he would need to apply in person using Form DS-11. John is able to renew by mail and avoids a lengthy wait at an acceptance facility. He simply mailed his current passport along with his Form DS-82, a recent photo, and a check or money order for the application fee. Now, John's ready to travel. Are you? For more information on renewing your passport, visit travel.state.gov/renew.
¿Cómo llenar la solicitud DS-11 para un pasaporte estadounidense? La solicitud DS-11 es el formulario que se utiliza para solicitar un pasaporte estadounidense. Todas las personas que hacen la solicitud por primera vez deben utilizar este formulario, incluso adultos y menores de edad. Los niños menores de 16 años también pueden utilizar esta solicitud para renovar un pasaporte. Para tramitar el pasaporte hay que presentar la solicitud DS-11 en persona, junto con la documentación, foto y pago. Existen dos opciones para llenar la solicitud DS-11. Se puede llenar la solicitud a través de nuestra página web e imprimirla. O se puede imprimir la solicitud y llenarla a mano, con letra legible y tinta negra. La solicitud DS-11 tiene dos páginas. En la primera página, marque la casilla que le corresponde si está solicitando un pasaporte estilo libreta, tarjeta o los dos. Para el pasaporte estilo libreta, se puede elegir entre 28 páginas o 52 páginas sin diferencia en el costo. La siguiente sección requiere la información personal del solicitante del pasaporte. El nombre de la persona debe coincidir con el que figura en su certificado de nacimiento, a menos que haya sido cambiado después de su nacimiento por una acción legal, tal como un matrimonio o una orden judicial. No proporcione un apodo o sobrenombre. Incluya el apellido o apellidos, primer nombre, segundo nombre, sexo, fecha y lugar de nacimiento. Si nació dentro de los Estados Unidos, indique la ciudad y estado. Si nació fuera de los Estados Unidos, indique la ciudad y el país como se le conoce actualmente. Se requiere un número de seguro social para solicitar un pasaporte. Para los menores recién nacidos que aún no tienen un número de seguro social, solo escriba números 0 para indicar eso. En el espacio de información de contacto, provea un correo electrónico vigente, número de teléfono y un domicilio para recibir el pasaporte por correo. Si ha utilizado otros nombres, provéalos en esta sección. Esto incluye los apodos, alias y apellido de soltera si es el caso. Deje la parte de abajo de la página en blanco y siga a la segunda página. En la segunda página del formulario, escriba otra vez el nombre de la persona que solicita el pasaporte, exactamente como aparece en la primera página, junto con la fecha de nacimiento. En la segunda página se solicita información acerca de los padres o tutores legales. Escriba los nombres, apellidos, fecha y lugar de nacimiento. Seleccione el sexo y si su madre o padre es un ciudadano estadounidense. El estatus migratorio de los padres no afecta el trámite del solicitante. Si usted nunca se ha casado, seleccione No y vaya a la parte 12. Si seleccionó Sí, provea el nombre de su cónyuge, su fecha y lugar de nacimiento. Indique si su cónyuge es ciudadano de los Estados Unidos y provea la fecha del matrimonio. Si se ha divorciado o enviudado, seleccione Sí y provea la fecha de divorcio o defunción. Provea otro número telefónico de contacto que sea diferente del número en la primera página. Si el solicitante es mayor de 16 años, provea información sobre su ocupación y empleador, o el nombre de la escuela a la que asiste. Proporcione su altura, color de cabello y color de ojos. Si tiene planes de viajar fuera de los Estados Unidos, provea las fechas del viaje y los países a visitar. Provea el domicilio actual si es diferente de la dirección postal en la primera página. Identifique una persona que no viajará con usted, que se puede contactar en caso de una emergencia. Provea su nombre, domicilio, número de teléfono y la relación con el solicitante. Indique si usted ha tramitado un pasaporte estadounidense anteriormente. Si respondió sí, provea información sobre el pasaporte previo, incluyendo el nombre que aparece en el pasaporte, número del documento y fecha de expedición. Marque la casilla que le corresponda si se entrega el pasaporte con la solicitud o si fue robado, perdido o está vencido y en su poder. Deje la parte final de la solicitud en blanco. Para más información sobre los trámites de pasaporte, visite nuestra página web o llame al Centro Nacional de Información de Pasaportes.
Welcome to the U.S. Diversity Immigrant Visa Program tutorial, Submitting an Entry. In this tutorial, we will introduce you to the U.S. Diversity Immigrant Visa Program and provide step-by-step guidance to help you submit an entry. You can also learn about the Diversity Visa Program on our website, usvisas.state.gov/dv/diversity. The Immigration Act of 1990 established the Diversity Visa, or DV, program, where 55,000 immigrant visas would be available in an annual lottery, starting in fiscal year 1995. The lottery aims to diversify the immigrant population in the United States by selecting applicants mostly from countries with low rates of immigration to the United States in the previous 5 years. Diversity visas, or DVs, are distributed among 6 geographic regions: Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, Oceania, and South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. No single country may receive more than 7% of the available DVs in any one year. Every year, the Department of State publishes the list of eligible DV countries on our website, usvisas.state.gov/dv/instructions. The DV program is administered by the U.S. Department of State Kentucky Consular Center, or KCC, in Williamsburg, Kentucky. Remember, the Department of State has only one Kentucky Consular Center. Other organizations using similar names have no connection to the Department of State or KCC. To enter the DV program, there are a few strict but simple requirements. First, there is a limited period of time during which you can register for the DV program during each fiscal year. The dates of the registration period are published each year on our website, usvisas.state.gov/dv/instructions, but registration typically occurs every October. Second, only individuals born in countries whose natives qualify to enter are eligible to submit a DV entry. Native ordinarily means someone born in a particular country, regardless of the individual's current country of residence or nationality. Native can also mean someone who is entitled to be charged to a country other than the one in which he or she was born under the provisions of Section 202B of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Because a numerical limitation is placed on immigrants entering from a country or geographic region, each individual is charged to a country. Your chargeability refers to the country whose limitation you count towards. If you are not born in an eligible country, there are 2 other ways you may be able to qualify: through your spouse or through your parents. For immigration purposes, a spouse is a legally married husband or wife. Remember, the United States legally recognizes same-sex marriage. Same-sex spouses are eligible for the same immigration benefits, including diversity visas, as opposite-sex spouses. Claiming your spouse's country of birth. If your spouse was born in a country whose natives are eligible, you can claim your spouse's country of birth, provided that both you and your spouse are named on the selected entry, are issued diversity visas, and enter the United States at the same time. For example, if you are born in Canada, whose natives are not eligible to enter the DV lottery, but your spouse was born in Spain, whose natives are eligible to enter the DV lottery, you can claim your spouse's country of birth, Spain, as your country of eligibility, as long as you include your spouse on your DV entry. Claiming a parent's country of birth. Or, you can claim the country of birth of either of your parents if you were born in a country in which neither parent was born and which your parents were not resident at the time of your birth. In general, people are not considered residents of a country in which they were not born or legally naturalized if they are only visiting the country temporarily or stationed in the country for business or professional reasons on behalf of a company or government. For example, let's say your parents were born in Estonia. Natives of Estonia are eligible for the DV lottery at the time you enter. You were born in Canada, while your parents were living there for a temporary period, but natives of Canada are not eligible to enter the DV lottery. You can claim the country of birth, Estonia, of either of your parents. The third requirement for the DV program is that you must meet either the education or work experience requirements. Only you, as the principal applicant, must meet this requirement. Your spouse and children do not have to meet this requirement. In order to register for the DV program, you do not need to prove that you've met the education or work experience requirements. You must, however, meet this requirement at the time you apply for your visa. Meeting the education requirement. To meet the education requirement, you must have completed a 12-year course of elementary and secondary education in the United States or a comparable course of study in another country, sufficient in itself to qualify a student to apply for college admission. A high school education means successful completion of a formal course of elementary and secondary education comparable to completion of a 12-year course in the United States. It is permissible to meet the educational requirement in less than 12 years or more than 12 years if the course of study completed is equivalent to a U.S. high school education. A general education diploma, GED test, or its foreign equivalent will not satisfy this requirement. Meeting the work experience requirement. To meet the work experience requirement, you must have 2 years of experience in the last 5 years in an occupation which, by U.S. Department of Labor definitions, requires at least 2 years of training or experience that is classified in a specific vocational preparation or SVP rating of 7.0 or higher. To determine if your work experience meets the requirement, visit the U.S. Department of Labor's ONET online database, www.onetonline.org. The ONET online database assigns specific vocational preparation or SVP ratings for each occupation. On the ONET online database, select Find Occupations, then select Job Family from the drop-down menu. Search the job family categories in the drop-down menu for the category that matches your current occupation. For example, you can select Architecture and Engineering or Education, Training, and Library, then select Go. If you selected Architecture and Engineering, you will see a list of several more specific occupations such as Aerospace Engineering and Operations Technicians and Agricultural Engineers. Select your occupation from this list. Once you select your occupation, you will be taken to a summary report for that occupation. Select Job Zone from the links near the top. The specific vocational preparation or SVP range for this occupation is between 7.0 and less than 8.0. To qualify for the DV program, your occupation must have an SVP range of 7.0 or higher. An aerospace engineering and operations technician meets the work experience requirement for the DV program. Once you have confirmed that you meet the country of birth requirement and the education or work requirement, and the DV registration period has begun, you can submit an entry to the DV program. You will find the dates of the DV program registration period on our DV instructions, located on our website at usvisas.state.gov/DV/instructions. Diversity visa scams. Before you submit your entry to the DV program, please be aware of diversity visa scams. You are strongly encouraged to complete the entry form yourself, without a visa consultant, visa agent, or any other facilitator who offers you help. If someone else helps you, you should be present when your entry is prepared so that you can provide the correct answers to the questions and retain the confirmation page and your unique confirmation number. Scammers pose as the U.S. government in an attempt to extract payment from DV applicants. Unscrupulous visa facilitators have been known to assist entrants with their entries, retain the confirmation page, and then demand more money in exchange for information on their entry. To avoid becoming a victim of these scams, please read the following. It is free to enter the DV lottery at dvlottery.state.gov. All entries to the DV program must be submitted electronically on the Electronic Diversity Visa or EDV website at dvlottery.state.gov during the specified registration period. No late entries or paper entries are accepted. The drawing is random. There is no way to increase your chances of winning. You may submit only one single entry per given year. If you place more than one entry per year in the DV lottery, you will be disqualified from participation in the DV lottery. Your spouse can also make a single separate entry if he or she qualifies. You can find out your status only at dvlottery.state.gov. The Department of State will not mail out notification letters or notify selectees by email. You do not pay until you find out your entry was selected, and if you go to the U.S. Embassy or Consulate in person for your interview. Detailed guidance for completing the online entry form, including a sample EDV entry page, is included in our DV instructions at usvisas.state.gov/dv/instructions. Several translations of these instructions are available. If you do not see instructions in your native language, please visit the U.S. Embassy or Consulate website where you plan to apply to find out whether additional translations are available. Let's get started. Go to www.dvlottery.state.gov to begin the Electronic Diversity Visa Entry or EDV form or DS5501. Select the link for the DV instructions and read them carefully. Select Photo Tool to make sure your pictures meet our photo requirements. Select Begin Entry. Then, type in the authentication code that you see on the screen. 1. Enter your last or family name, first name, and middle name as they appear or will appear in your passport. If your passport does not list a given name, enter FNU. Select the box No Last or Family Name, No First Name, or No Middle Name if they apply to you. 2. Select your gender, male or female. 3. Select your day of birth and month of birth from the drop-down menu. Then enter your year of birth. 4. Enter the city where you were born. Do not enter the district, county, province, or state. Select the box Birth City Unknown if you do not know your city of birth. 5. Select the country where you are born from the drop-down menu. 6. Select Yes if you are claiming eligibility for the DV program based on the country where you were born. If you are claiming the country of birth of your spouse or parent, select No and enter the country you are claiming. It is very important that you enter the correct country of eligibility, otherwise your entry may be disqualified. Next, you will upload a recent photograph of yourself. Review the DV instructions to make sure your photo meets our photograph requirements. You will also find our photo requirements at travel.state.gov/content/visas/english/general/photos.html. You do not need to include a photograph for your spouse or child who is already a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, but you will not be penalized if you do. Group photographs will not be accepted. You must submit an individual photograph. Your entry may be disqualified or your visa refused if your photograph is not recent, has been manipulated in any way, or does not meet the specifications explained in our DV instructions at usvisas.state.gov/dv/instructions. 8. Enter your mailing address, including the street, city or town, district, county, province or state, postal code or zip code, and country. 9. Select the country where you live today from the drop-down menu. 10. Enter your phone number. This is optional. 11A. Enter your email address. 11B. Confirm your email address by entering it again. Your email address will be used to provide you with additional information if you are selected. It is important that you provide an email address that you have access to, and that you will still be able to access when selectees are announced several months later. 12. Enter the highest level of education you have achieved as of today. Remember, you must meet the education or work experience requirement at the time you apply for your visa. Please review the educational requirements as explained earlier in this tutorial and in the DV instructions at usvisas.state.gov/dv/instructions. 13. Select your current marital status. Mistakes are often made by applicants who do not select their correct marital status. Failure to complete this information correctly can lead to disqualification from the DV program. Here are some important points to remember about marital status. Select unmarried if you have never been married. Select married if you are legally married, even if you are married but currently separated, no longer live with your spouse, haven't seen your spouse in many years, or even if you plan to be divorced before you apply for a visa. If you are married at the time of your DV entry, but haven't seen your spouse in many years, or plan to be divorced by the time the DV lottery selections are made, you must still list your spouse. If you are selected for the DV lottery, you simply won't submit a visa application, Form DS-260, for your spouse. Only a relationship legally considered to be a marriage in the jurisdiction where it took place establishes eligibility as a spouse for immigration purposes. Civil unions and domestic partnerships are not considered legal marriage for immigration purposes. Same-sex spouses are eligible for the same immigration benefits, including diversity visas, as opposite-sex spouses. Failure to list your eligible spouse will result in your disqualification and refusal of all visas in the case at the time of the visa interview. Select divorced if you are legally divorced from your spouse. Select widowed if you were married, your spouse died, and you are not currently remarried. Select legally separated if a court has formally declared that you and your spouse are legally separated. Legal separation means that your spouse will not be eligible to immigrate as your derivative. Legal separation means you have gone to court and had a separation agreement accepted by the court. This happens when people do not want to divorce yet, but need a formal agreement covering things such as who pays for the shared expenses during the separation, access and custody to any children, and so on. Do not select legally separated if you have simply separated from your spouse but have not yet divorced. A spouse who is already a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident will not require or be issued a diversity visa and does not need to be included on your entry. See the frequently asked questions on our DV instructions for more information about marital status. 14. Enter the number of children you have and select Continue. Mistakes are most often made by applicants who incorrectly enter the number of children they have. Failure to complete this information correctly can lead to disqualification from the DV program. The following are some helpful tips to remember about entering the number of children you have. Here are some important points to remember about entering the number of children you have. List the name, date of birth, gender, city or town of birth, and country of birth for all living unmarried children under 21 years of age, whether or not they are living with you, or whether or not they intend to accompany or follow to join you should you immigrate to the United States. Submit individual photographs of each of your children using the same technical specifications as your own photograph. Be sure to include all living natural children, all living children legally adopted by you, all living stepchildren who are unmarried and under the age of 21 on the date of your electronic entry, even if you are no longer legally married to the child's parent, and even if the child does not currently reside with you and/or will not immigrate with you. Married children and children over the age of 21 are not eligible for the DV. However, the Child Status Protection Act protects children from aging out in certain circumstances. If your DV entry is made before your unmarried child turns 21, and the child turns 21 before visa issuance, he or she may be treated as though he or she were under 21 for visa processing purposes. A child who is already a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident will not require or be issued a diversity visa and does not need to be included on your entry. See the frequently asked questions on our DV instructions for more information about family members. Failure to list all children who are eligible will result in disqualification of the principal applicant and refusal of all visas in the case at the time of the visa interview. If you state that you are married and your spouse is not a U.S. citizen or a U.S. lawful permanent resident, and/or you state that you have children, the form will take you to Part 2, Derivatives. If you state that your spouse is not a U.S. citizen or U.S. lawful permanent resident, answer the following questions. 13A through 13C. Enter your spouse's last or family name, first name, and middle name as they appear or will appear in their passport. If their passport does not list a given name, enter FNU. Select the box No Last or Family Name, No First Name, or No Middle Name if they apply to you. 13DA through 13DC. Select your spouse's day of birth and month of birth from the drop-down menu, then enter their year of birth. 13E. Choose your spouse's gender. 13F. Enter the city where your spouse was born, if known. Do not enter district, county, province, or state. Select the box Birth City Unknown if you do not know your spouse's city of birth. 13G. Choose the country where your spouse was born from the drop-down menu. 13H. Upload a recent photograph of your spouse. If you stated that you have a child or children, answer the following questions. 14A through 14C. Enter your first child's last or family name, first name, and middle name as they appear or will appear in their passport. If their passport does not list a given name, enter FNU. Select the box No Last or Family Name, No First Name, or No Middle Name if this applies. 14D. Select your child's day of birth and month of birth from the drop-down menu, then enter their year of birth. 14E. Select your child's gender, male or female. 14F. Enter the city where your child was born, if known. Enter birth city only. Do not enter district, county, province, or state. Select the box Birth City Unknown if you do not know your child's city of birth. 14G. Select the country where your child was born from the drop-down menu. 14H. Upload a recent photograph of your child. You will be required to enter the same information for all living unmarried children under 21 years of age. Select Continue. Review all of the fields in the summary page to confirm that you have entered all information correctly. Then print the summary page for your records. You will need to use your browser's print button for this. If all information is correct, select Continue. A submission confirmation page will be displayed, confirming that your DV program entry has been received. It is extremely important that you print the submission confirmation page or make a note of your confirmation number before closing your browser window. You will need this information to find out if you have been selected in the DV lottery. Keep your submission confirmation page and confirmation number in a safe place. Again, your confirmation number is the only way to find out if you have been selected. do not allow a visa facilitator to retain this information on your behalf. On or about May 5th, all entrants may check their entry status on the Electronic Diversity Visa or EDV website, www.dvlottery.state.gov. At that time, you will be able to enter your confirmation number and see if your entry has been selected. If your entry has been selected, follow the instructions given to you on the EDV website for further processing in the DV program. We hope this tutorial has been helpful. Good luck with your entry! If you have any further questions, please contact the Kentucky Consular Center at 606-526-7500 between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or by email at kccdv@state.gov.
Ay, estoy tan contenta del viaje para Punta Cana.
Yo también, pero escuché que necesitamos su pasaporte. ¿Tienen uno?
No.
Escuché que lo necesitamos solicitar mínimo 3 meses antes del viaje.
Ah, pues mejor que comencemos ya.
Ok, ¿qué necesitamos?
Vamos a Google. Tenemos que llenar ese formulario.
Pero es que no tenemos computadora.
¿Podríamos hacerlo por teléfono?
No, mejor imprimirlo. Vamos para la biblioteca.
Ok.
¿Puedes buscar en Google cómo sacar un pasaporte?
Sí, claro. Nos lleva a travel.state.gov.
Genial. ¿Qué tenemos que hacer?
Bueno, creo que todos tenemos que solicitar en persona porque este es nuestro primer pasaporte.
Parece que el formulario que tenemos que llenar es el DS-11.
¿Lo podemos llenar por internet o tenemos que imprimirlo?
Voy a imprimir 3 copias para que cada uno tengamos una. Aquí están las solicitudes.
¿Sabes cómo llenarlo?
Solo son 2 páginas, no parece tan complicado.
Encontré un video en español que nos enseña cómo llenarlo. Ya llenamos la solicitud de S11. ¿Qué más necesitamos?
Vi en la página web que si soy nacido en los Estados Unidos o en un territorio de los Estados Unidos, necesitamos el certificado original de nacimiento.
¿Quieres decir la partida de nacimiento?
Creo que es lo mismo.
Genial, nací aquí, así que eso es todo lo que yo necesito.
Pero yo no nací en Estados Unidos. Entonces, ¿qué necesito?
Yo tampoco nací aquí, pero miren lo que dice. Vamos a necesitar nuestros certificados originales de naturalización.
Oh, no sé dónde está mi certificado.
Es mejor que lo encuentres, porque vamos a necesitar los documentos originales con el formulario de S11 y ellos nos los regresan de vuelta.
Y si soy un ciudadano naturalizado, ¿debo presentar mi certificado original de nacimiento de mi país?
No, solo necesitas el certificado de naturalización.
Así que esta es nuestra prueba. ¿Qué más necesitamos?
También necesitamos alguna forma de identificación de gobierno y que tenga foto.
¿Quieres decir como la licencia de conducir?
¿O una tarjeta de identificación del Estado?
Sí, todas funcionan. Tenemos que llevar la original, la identificación original a la oficina y una copia de la parte del frente y la parte de atrás para mandar con la solicitud.
Es decir, presentamos la identificación en persona y las fotocopias las mandamos con la solicitud.
Correcto.
Ok, tengo mi certificado de nacimiento original, mi fotocopia de mi licencia de la parte del frente y atrás. ¿Qué más?
¿Tiene el website algún enlace donde diga qué otro documento necesitamos?
Sí, necesitamos las fotos.
Necesitamos 2 fotos, 2x2, que hayan sido tomadas en los últimos 6 meses.
Tengo un maravilloso selfie que puedo utilizar.
No puede ser un selfie. Tenemos que ir a un lugar que tomen fotos para pasaportes.
Ok, vamos a tomarnos las fotos.
Hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien.
2 gafas, por favor. Y en serio. Ay, un poquito más normal. Ay. ¿Sin reír? Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Genial, tenemos
¿Listo?
las fotos, estamos casi listos.
¿Tienen el dinero en efectivo? ¿Cuánto es?
Vamos a revisar la página web.
Aquí dice que en algunos lugares se aceptan cheques, tarjeta de crédito y efectivo, pero no en todos los lugares aceptan todos los tipos de pago.
Es mejor no mandar efectivo por correo.
Llevemos un cheque para cubrir la solicitud que se paga al State Department y otro cheque para que procesen la solicitud. Otra vez, ¿y ahora para dónde vamos?
Acá hay una lista donde podemos ir.
Sí, podemos ir al correo, podemos ir a la oficina del clerk del condado. Inclusive hay oficinas solo para sacar pasaportes.
Vamos a llamar para confirmar si necesitamos cita y las mejores formas de hacer los pagos.
O podríamos ir y preguntar.
Que no se nos olviden los documentos. ¿Sabe? Esto se va a tomar su tiempo.
Sí, porque hay que llenar la solicitud, firmar el formulario, hacer el juramento y pagar. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están todos?
Muy bien, ¿usted?
Bienvenido al correo de Hamilton.
Muchas gracias. Vamos a presentar nuestra aplicación para
Para el pasaporte.
nuestro
Para el
pasaporte.
pasaporte. Okay,
Nos vamos de paseo.
Gracias.
¿Va a trabajar con todos o quiere trabajar con uno a la vez?
Yo creo, solamente yo voy a procesar a él.
Ok. Pues
Sí.
nosotros esperamos.
Sí.
En la línea, ok.
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 En la cita para entregar la solicitud del pasaporte y hacer el juramento, revisarán la solicitud. Recuerde no firmarla hasta que le pidan que firme. Y recuerde llenar la solicitud en tinta negra. Recuerde llevar prueba de ciudadanía, identificación, fotos y dinero para pagar.
Muchas gracias.
A la orden.
Bueno,
Gracias.
hasta
Adiós.
luego. Sigan.
¿Y ahora qué?
A esperar.
Lo logramos, nos vamos para Punta Cana.
Ay, pero espera, los certificados originales no están en el sobre.
No se preocupen, leí que los enviarían unos días después de que llegaran nuestros pasaportes.
Entonces esperemos que nos lleguen los certificados en otro sobre.
Espera, ¿cuándo van ustedes? Yo quiero ir, pero no tengo un pasaporte.
Yo quiero ir también.
Ay, pero es que nos vamos en 3 semanas. No creo que haya tiempo suficiente.
La página web dice que tú puedes acelerar el proceso para coger un pasaporte, pero te va a costar más. Y hay instrucciones especiales para menores de 16 años.
Ok, ¿y qué tenemos que hacer?
No, otra vez.
¿Necesita pasaporte para ir de Estados Unidos a México por tierra? La respuesta es sí. Si usted es ciudadano americano y quiere cruzar la frontera con México por tierra, debe tener presente la siguiente información. Primero, proteja su identidad. Su documento de identificación es el documento más importante a la hora de cruzar la frontera. Y únicamente el pasaporte o una tarjeta de pasaporte son válidos ante las autoridades migratorias de los países destino. 2. Solicite una tarjeta de pasaporte de los Estados Unidos. Si usted es ciudadano americano y vive en la frontera entre Estados Unidos y México, podrá solicitarla en su lugar de residencia. Si usted vive en otra parte de Estados Unidos, hay más de 7,000 oficinas donde podrá solicitarla. Y si usted es ciudadano estadounidense pero reside en México, podrá solicitarla en el consulado de Estados Unidos más cercano a su lugar de residencia. Tercero, evite inconvenientes y ahorre tiempo. No contar con una tarjeta de pasaporte a la hora de cruzar la frontera puede causarle retrasos en su viaje y también inconvenientes a la hora de validar su información. Además, con esta tarjeta de pasaporte, usted podrá cruzar fácilmente por las ready lanes y evitarse largas filas. 4. Tramite un permiso de importación temporal para su vehículo. Si usted está viajando en su propio auto y necesita ir más allá de la frontera, debe tramitar un permiso de importación para su vehículo a través de la institución bancaria de México, Banjército. Este permiso lo puede tramitar a través de Internet, en oficinas fronterizas y en algunos consulados de México dentro de los Estados Unidos. Pero usted también se preguntará cuál es la diferencia entre un pasaporte y una tarjeta de pasaporte. El pasaporte es un documento internacional que le sirve para viajar por tierra, aire o por mar. La diferencia con la tarjeta de pasaporte es que este documento únicamente le va a servir para cruzar las fronteras y puertos en Canadá, México, las Bermudas y el Caribe. Además, no le servirá para hacer viajes internacionales por aire. Así que si está pensando en ir de Estados Unidos a México por tierra, es mejor que se asegure de tener todos sus documentos en orden para que pueda tener un feliz viaje. Para más información, visita travelstate.gov.
¿Cómo llenar un formulario DS-3053? Declaración de permiso para otorgar un pasaporte de los Estados Unidos a un menor que no ha cumplido los 16 años de edad. Los niños menores de 16 años necesitan el permiso de ambos progenitores para que se les otorgue un pasaporte de los Estados Unidos. Los progenitores o tutores legales deben presentar en persona la solicitud para menores que no hayan cumplido los 16 años y el menor debe comparecer también en persona junto con sus progenitores cuando presentan la solicitud de pasaporte DS-11. Si uno de los progenitores o tutores no puede presentarse en persona para solicitar el pasaporte del menor, ese progenitor puede valerse del formulario DS-3053 para dar su consentimiento al otro progenitor o tutor que presenta la solicitud con el menor. Para llenar el formulario DS-3053, escriba los apellidos del menor, su nombre o nombres de pila y su fecha de nacimiento. Marque la casilla que le corresponde si está solicitando un pasaporte estilo libreta, tarjeta o los dos. Escriba en letra de molde el nombre del progenitor o tutor que otorga su consentimiento y el nombre de la persona que presentará la solicitud con el menor. Escriba la información de contacto del progenitor o tutor que otorgará su consentimiento, a saber, dirección de la vivienda, ciudad, estado y código postal, así como el número de teléfono y dirección de correo electrónico. El progenitor o tutor debe firmar y fechar el formulario DS-3053 en presencia del notario. También deberá entregar una fotocopia claramente legible del frente y dorso del documento oficial de identidad del progenitor o tutor. La parte inferior del formulario es para uso exclusivo del notario. Una vez firmado ante notario, el formulario DS-3053 debe presentarse en un plazo no mayor de 90 días. Este consentimiento o autorización es válido solamente hasta 90 días después de su firma ante notario.
Ooh, is that travel.state.gov? Are you planning an international trip? Do you know your passport's date of expiration? Your passport might need to be renewed prior to traveling abroad. Some countries require that your passport have as much as 6 months validity remaining for entry. Have you checked yours? So even if your passport hasn't expired, it might need to be renewed before you travel. Are you sure you guys aren't forgetting anything? Thought of everything? You can use travel.state.gov to research the countries you'll be traveling through and make sure you meet their entry requirements. If you're traveling to a country that requires 6 months of remaining validity on your U.S. passport to enter, and you don't meet the requirement, you could be denied boarding on your flight. Renewing your passport in advance is simple. Instructions are on travel.state.gov, and you may be able to renew by mail. If you need a passport in a hurry, we can provide expedited service at one of our passport agencies for an additional fee. So before you travel, plan ahead and make sure your passport and those of your traveling companions isn't going to turn your vacation into a staycation. You can also use travel.state.gov to enroll in STEP, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, in case you have an emergency abroad. I hope you guys have learned a valuable lesson today. Travel smart, travel safe, travel.state.gov.